Good morning. My name is Michelle Salyer. I'm Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Melbourne Regional Chamber. I know Melody told you to ignore me, but just listen to me for a little bit. I'm thrilled to see so many familiar faces here today, and I look forward to meeting many of you whom I have not met yet. It's great to see so much girl power in the room today. It's my pleasure to introduce the chair of this year's Women of Excellence Committee, the outstanding Jamara Wilson. The owner of Progressive Cleaning and Tuxedo Impressions, LLC, Jamara has more than 19 years of experience in project management, business operations, and process management, and has successfully participated in the research and program implementation for various nonprofit, for-profit, and civic organizations. She is committed to civic engagement by equipping progressive organizations with operational agility and a multi-equity lens, allowing her to successfully manage projects for statewide, political, and national organizations. In 2019, she was an honoree for the Orlando Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award and a nominee for their 2020 Business and Diversity Award. She was recently named one of the top 21 most affluent people by Black Business Orlando. Currently, she serves on the advisory board of the Florida Diversity Council, is a board member for 8 Cents in a Jar, Family Promise of Brevard, and the Founders Forum. That was a mouthful. Today's event is the brainchild of Jamara, and she will also be moderating our panel this morning. So please welcome Jamara Wilson.
Good morning. Thank you, Michelle, for that introduction. And happy Women's History Month. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. Thank you. I am more than excited to be the chair of the Women's of Excellence Council this year because I have the opportunity to be in the room and surrounded by many outstanding folks like yourself. And that makes me happy. So before we move on, I want to take a second and raise your hand if you're sitting next to someone that you already know. Don't be shy. Okay, so I challenge you that before you leave here today to introduce yourself to two people whom you don't know, and at the next event, sit next to someone whom you don't know and or unfamiliar with. And that's what Women of Excellence is about. We are here to make sure that we are creating a network, an environment to network for women in the Space Coast, to engage with the people you already know, right? But also to cultivate those relationships with new ones, all while developing your professional skills and business. Our mission is to empower the women in our community to make sure that they are reaching their highest potential. So what we ask is that you, as someone said earlier, you know other women of excellence because we are women of excellence, right? So I challenge you to nominate a woman of excellence in your personal network and make sure you share it so that the chamber can feature that person on all of their media outlets. And I challenge you this year to challenge yourself in business, career growth, and self-assurance. Because this year, what we're gonna do is have a variety of events that's gonna make sure that we take care of business while having fun, all right? Now I can't wait to get started and introduce you to the fabulous ladies who are on our panel here today. All right. So first, to my far right is Elizabeth High, Director of Service Lines for Eluvianic, Inc. In this role, Elizabeth oversees strategy development and program management for the cybersecurity service line. She also serves as marketing lead for the organization. Previously, Elizabeth was the Senior Manager, Business Development for the Economic Development Commission, or as most of us know, EDC, of Florida Space Coast, where she led the business retention and expansion programming. She headed up existing industry programs, including founding the Regional Manufacturing Association of Florida Space Coast, the Manufacturing Talent Asset Pipeline Program, and the NASA RED Technology Docking Program. Elizabeth and her husband, Trey, have 2 sons, 10 and 8, and a calico cat. I know someone in here would love to take a photo of that, Elizabeth. Ask me about it later. She is an avid supporter of her kids' school and extracurricular activities, currently serving as the 2nd grade room parent and sports parent coordinator. She is a sustaining member of the Junior League of South Brevard, Inc. Elizabeth is a project management professional and holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Marketing and Finance from Florida State University. Welcome, Elizabeth, and thank you for joining us today. Our next amazing panelist is Frannie Foltz, health mentor, motivator, and owner of Shine with Frannie. Frannie is on a mission to help women become healthier, stronger, and more confident so they can live fully, freely, and fearlessly. I love that. Frannie is a formally trained educator who believes in lifelong learning, not just teaching others, but empowering them with essential tools to live life while enjoying each and every day. As a 21-year-old girl, she tipped the scales of 300 plus pounds and says she felt as though she was watching life happen from the sidelines. After losing and maintaining nearly 125 pounds, pre-COVID, she likes to say, Frannie says she has learned to embrace life and all that it has to offer. She is an avid traveler, thrill seeker, hello skydiving, right? And loving auntie. She loves connecting with others through Instagram Reels, Facebook Live videos, fitness classes, and Bible studies, and is the host of Shine with Frannie Show, a podcast where she shares real-life stories that might make you laugh so hard you'll pee in your pants. Without even doing a jumping jack, she told me. Or cry so hard your mascara will look like Tammy Frey Baker. Rest in peace, Tammy. She published her first book in February 2020, From Your Fire to That Girl's on Fire, and is currently working on another book about life's disappointment, reframed as divine appointments. Please welcome Frannie Foltz. And last, but definitely not least, our third panelist this morning is Sonja Bossinger. Sonja is a real estate attorney who specializes in representing community associations. She is a Florida Bar Board certified expert in condominium and planned development law, an accomplishment achieved by less than 0.2% of Florida's attorneys. In her practice, Sonja provides advice and counsel on a variety of issues to board members and their professional managers who work with these communities, includes turnover assistance, insurance coverage, property damage, fair housing compliance, corporate governance, contract drafting, dispute resolution, collections, foreclosure, covenant enforcement, amendments, elections, financial budgeting, and operations. Sonja, I love it. And the list goes on. Sonja also has broad experience in real estate transactions, closings, mortgage foreclosures, and residential and commercial landlord-tenant issues. Sonja is an experienced litigator, admitted to practice in all Florida state courts and both federal and bankruptcy courts in the Middle District of Florida. She represents clients in meditations, arbitrations, and civil lawsuits, including trials, while keeping her clients' goals and bottom line in mind. As an AV preeminent rated attorney by Martindale-Hubbell, Sonja has been recognized by her peers in the 2016 to 2019 editions of Florida's Trans-Legal Elite, which is awarded to only the top 2% of practicing attorneys in the state. She was named in the 2018 edition of Florida Super Lawyers as one of the top 5% of practicing attorneys in the state for her accomplishments in her real estate practice. From 2008 to 2015, she practiced real estate law with a large firm in Orlando, then started her own law firm with Carlos Arias in 2015. Their firm has grown to 28 employees with 3 different offices located in Melbourne, Orlando, and Tampa. Sonja enjoys spending time on the water with her 2 kids, husband, and 80-pound Labradoodle. Welcome, Sonja. This is why I'm excited about this discussion today. Amazing panelists. So Oscar Wilde said, "A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction." Today, as we celebrate Women's History Month, through our discussion on the trichotomy of a woman, business, community, and self, we are going to learn what stories these women have wrote in the novel of their lives. Now let's get started. So the first question, we understand that we know what you all have done. We understand the accolades, but let's start off by first making sure that your microphone, that you press the mute and hold the mute button so that it's green. When your microphone is on, just hold it up so I know. Everyone's good? Perfect. All right. So let's start with you, Frannie. Tell us who you are.
Why me first? Who am I? So she nothing, right? Because I like to believe that I am a self-made nothing, but a God-made everything. We go through trials and experiences in our lives, and that is what makes us and defines us as to who we are. And so right now, I can sit before you and tell you that I am a broken mess, but that is where God's light shines through. And so I say that only in a good way, right? Because it is through vulnerability. Brene Brown, if any of you know her, she shares about how it is through our vulnerability and sharing the things and the crazy things that we've had happen in our lives. And so as Jamara shared, I was 21 years old and literally had a rock bottom moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am 296 pounds. And the trainer said to me at the gym, it was the first time I had joined a gym, obviously. And he leaned across the table and he said to me, if you gain 1 pound every month for the next 5 years, you're gonna be closer to 400 than 300. And I was like, I will be 26 years old in a moo-moo with cats. Like, my life is going to be before me. And that was a turning point for me. That was then one of the things that defined me, and I've had so many others. And I want you to think about that in your own lives. Like, who are you? So while she's asking me that question, I want you to think, if you were sitting here in this chair, because you are a woman of excellence, how would you describe yourself? And so as I started off this answer to this, is that it is really just through God that I have been able to be here before you today as a woman of excellence, as every one of you are. So I'm so honored to be here with you guys today. So probably doesn't answer the question the way you wanted, a little bit more abstract, but I really want you to reflect upon that in your own wonderment as to who you are too. So I am just here to really shine and reflect the light that you have.
You answered the question the way you wanted to, and I accept that answer. Thank you, Frannie. Elizabeth, tell us who you are.
That is a very hard question to answer. So you heard my bio. I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, caregiver for my father, and a member of the community. And I think all of those things definitely define me. I'm the youngest. I have 3 older brothers, so that defines me as well. An instigator. And I do just love to be social and to be with people, so today is very exciting. Thank you all for being here. I don't really know how to define myself further, but just that I seek to connect and help others, and I think that kind of helps drive where I go in life.
Perfect. Thank you. Sonja, tell us who you are.
Well, I'm also a lady of many hats. I'm a wife, a mom, a business owner. I own multiple businesses, one of which I own with my husband. So those of you that don't always like your spouse, just imagine working with them, then having to come home and see them again. They never go away. But it brings a lot of challenges. I work each day trying to be a master juggler and trying to balance life and everything it throws at you, because I never start out the day and finish the day with how I planned it's going to go, because it just doesn't go that way. So I enjoy life. I'm a really positive person. I try to have a positive perspective, and sometimes it's really hard, especially when you are an employer. You have a lot of different people coming to you with a lot of different issues when you have employees, as well as running the business, as well as being a mom and being that tender side of you. And nothing shows you your personality flaws better than when you have a kid and you say, dang, I knew I was stubborn. I didn't realize I was that stubborn. Sorry, Mom, when I start seeing the things that my daughter likes to pull. So I just enjoy life, and I take it in stride and do one day at a time and one moment at a time, because that's really all we can do, because life is short and we need to live it to the fullest, not having any regrets, but making sure that each day we're living it to the best of our ability.
Perfect. So, Sonja, you and Elizabeth are in male-dominated careers. So, tell us about the typical challenges that someone in your industry faces.
Well, I have so many funny stories of being an attorney and a law practice owner. A lot of times when I'm speaking to another male attorney, they'll say, oh, is this your father's firm? I get that a lot.
Wow.
Or is it your grandfather's firm? Because I'm also young and a female in their mind. So those sorts of things happen quite often, and it's kind of shocking how often people say, oh, you work for a law firm, whose assistant are you? I mean, we get those kind of questions all the time, and it's kind of fun to be like, oh, well, actually, no, I have 10 assistants, thank you very much. And it's not to boast, but it really just shows, and I'm one of those team players that really believes in, because I started out as a law firm runner, and I've always put myself in the perspective of whoever I work with in our firm. I've had those positions. I've been a file clerk, I've been a runner, I've been a paralegal, and making sure that you're treating everyone respectfully, because when you're treated with disrespect, it really shows you, well, hey, I don't want to treat people that way. I don't want to feel that way. So let me make sure that I'm putting and empathizing with what role someone's in to make sure that I understand what they're doing. So that's one of the biggest challenges, is how people look at you as a female sometimes in the workplace.
No, that's good, because sometimes we always say, can you be careful whose shoes you're walking in, right? But you do have to put yourself in someone else's shoes, no matter what position they're in. Thank you, Sonja. Elizabeth, tell us about your challenges.
Similar to being kind of that young female. So my whole life I've been Lizzie. And when I really got into the professional world, I started going by Elizabeth, because I looked young and cute, and that's not what you want to be perceived as when you're in the professional world. Oh, isn't she cute? Lizzie. So you guys can call me Lizzie. I'm getting older now. I'll take that name back. I'll revert back to Lizzie now. But I have found very similar when you're kind of at the conference room table, you're expected to take the notes. I am good at taking notes, and I like to do it because it helps me to document everything from the meeting. But you don't want to be expected to take the notes, and so that's kind of a challenge that I feel like women in all businesses face. That you're all sort of looked at as doing that administrative task, and whether or not you're good at it, you need to be recognized for the other things that you're really good at. And that is a challenge in the workforce, and I think it is just demonstrating your ability to lead, to come up with the best ideas. When you are at the table, always say something, always be a contributor, because if you don't, then people will assume that you're just an observer. So you always have to ask a question, make a statement, make a point, bring something up so that your value is recognized by the others that are in the room, and they'll start to ask for your opinions once they start to see that you have really good ones. And the other thing I would always encourage anyone to do is to learn to get comfortable speaking in public, because whether the public is this size group or a larger group or a boardroom table, you've got to be comfortable saying the things in front of the people, because that's what's going to help you get respect.
So Elizabeth, you said that, making sure that you're able to speak up at the table and have something to say. Do you feel some of these things that you said are more gender specific, challenges that women should be focusing on, or is it both just men and women?
I think men and women collectively, but I think as women, we have a higher burden there. We've got a kind of a higher mountain to climb, so we really need to be sure that we are making our voice heard.
Perfect. So in general, how do you feel women in the workplace handle stress? Frannie.
That is a great question. And it's hard for me to answer that because I don't stress about a lot of things. And I have seen a lot of women who I've worked with very emotive, which is a blessing to us because we are very emotional beings. But I have seen it where anger, and I was a teacher in my background, which is predominantly a female field. So it's interesting that here I am sitting, amongst ladies who are pretty much in a male-dominated field. So I have seen where, we are the mean girls. You can be a 48-year-old mean girl, you know what I mean? I've seen that in the workplace a lot because everybody wants to have their opinion heard. And so sometimes we go about it, I have seen it in a way that is maybe a little bit more forceful, and especially, with a lot more of the women's power, I think that people are trying to assert themselves a little bit more so. But I've also seen it, I was at an all-girls school in Cleveland for several years, from 2000 until 2015. And so I have seen it in a very positive way as well. So I think it just depends in terms of, your own environment and where you're coming from. But I have seen it where, personally, to answer your question, how I've seen stress in the workplace, I have seen it literally in a positive way with the emotions coming through, and sometimes in a negative way as well.
Okay. Sonja, do you feel women can be more competitive in business than men? Explain your answer.
Absolutely. I've worked in a lot of different offices through my career, and why do we have to be so catty? And I feel like that's part of our competitiveness is women, we almost try to bring other women down. And I don't know why we do that, because we can together build so much more than having this catty attitude. But I know we've all worked in places where we're like, dang it, I'd rather work with a bunch of men sometimes because these women in this office are so catty. And I feel like that's part of our competitiveness. I feel as women that sometimes we think in order to be competitive, we have to be the mean girls to the other women to bring them down, instead of, hey, we can be competitive, let's work on this idea together, make it twice as good as it could have been. So I do think we have a tendency to be competitive in a different way. I feel with men, when I've worked with men, when they're competitive, you know, they can kind of be standoffish to one another too, but women, we take it to a bad level sometimes. And that's something, you know, that we really need to reflect on. You know, how am I treating others in this workspace where, you know, I can really work on these things together to make us all better versus putting each other down. That doesn't make me look better, because what happens when you're the catty one, everyone goes, oh, she's the jerk in the office. Right. Nobody wants to talk to her. She's, you know, rude to everyone. Instead of the person that's very approachable that actually ends up succeeding more in life, because more people want to be around that female because she has great ideas, she implements them, but she also asks for help to make that happen. And I really think as women we have to remember that it's okay to ask for help, and you can actually move your idea and plan along better if you're implementing it that way.
That's true. Empower each other. Frannie or Elizabeth, do you have anything you want to add or answer to that question?
I had the privilege of working in an all-female office for a number of years, and I really didn't experience a ton of cattiness and competitiveness. And maybe it was because we had a female leader as well, so it was kind of just the environment. But I will say I've had some amazing male bosses, and I think they, in certain instances, did more for me than female bosses. They pushed me forward in so many ways, so I want to kind of just nod to the males. There's a few in the room. You can be such champions for women and make such a difference for women, and I've had great experiences with male bosses in that way.
So speaking of that, your previous employment, so Elizabeth, you recently made a move from one organization where you spent 13 plus years. The community identifies you with that organization, right? So tell us about the mental and physical transition of your career move into a new workplace.
That was a big move, you know. I'm sure any of you can kind of feel that, and some of you probably made similar moves in your life. So I spent 13 years in an organization that had really helped to shape me as a professional, helped me to learn this community, helped me be part of this community. But I got to a point where I kind of felt a little stale, a little stuck. Been there for a long time, done the same things for a long time, and it had been fantastic for me for a long time. So I spent a long time really agonizing about making a move. Like, can I do this? Should I do this? I really wanted somebody else to decide for me. Could somebody else just tell me what to do? Unfortunately in life, nobody will do that for you. Seems as though. But I started to really think about it, and really think where I wanted to go long term and how I wanted to get there. And certainly I prayed about it. I'm a person of faith as well, and I wanted like a sign. Tell me to do this right now. And I didn't quite get that, but I got little messages all around me, little tiny things. One day I heard my 10-year-old say to his brother, I have no idea what they were talking about, and he said, well, you know, not making a decision is making a decision too, and there's still consequences. He's right. He's so right. There's still consequences. It's still a decision. You're still going to have ramifications from it. And once I made my decision that I was going to take a move and make a move and do something different and new, I got all the affirmation in the world. Everywhere I looked, the answers were there. They were, you made the right choice. This is it. I mean, the song on the radio, the podcast I listened to, everything said I made the right choice. And I get goosebumps right now. Because I know I made the right choice to make a move, to do something different, to get out of my comfort zone, to build new skills, to challenge myself, to try something new, and thankfully to find out I already knew a few things. So it's not all brand new. That's good news too. So I would encourage you, if you're on the fence, if you're thinking, what do I need to do next? Until you make that choice, I think you probably won't get all the affirmation and confirmation that you need. You've got to take a leap of faith. You've got to do what's right for you. And hopefully you'll get some pointers along the way, and maybe
So you made the decision to empower yourself. I like that. So Frannie, what are some things you feel women can need in the workplace to empower themselves, to empower them in the workplace, leading their lives?
I'm going to piggyback first of all on what she said that actually answers this question in terms of empowerment. She shared about taking a leap of faith. And I love the expression when I work with clients, I say action brings clarity. So if you take a step forward, you're going to figure out, I like this, I don't like this, right? Going on a date, like him, I don't, right? You have to go on the date though, or you have to do the next thing. And so sometimes you won't get the, rainbows and unicorn signs, like, yes, this is what you're supposed to do. You're not going to get that right away, but you're like, okay, I know I have this dream, I know I have this desire, I know I have this thing inside of me. I have to do it, I have to step forth and do it. And so another thing to empower yourself, besides taking that step, is, think about this, you guys, in terms of your day. You have 1,440 minutes every single day. If you have a dream to do something, you are worth, let me tweet this, you are worth 1% of your day. 15 minutes of your day is worth your dream. That's 14 minutes and 40 seconds in case you were like, what is 1%? It's 15 minutes of your day. So start writing the book today, 15 minutes. Start the exercise program today. Whatever that is, you are worth 15 minutes of pursuing your dream. I think that is how you really empower yourself, is by saying, you know what, I am worth this, I'm gonna do this. If I have this dream and this focus to do this thing, I'm worth 1%. So don't hit snooze.
Hashtag shine with Frannie, y'all.
Yeah,
Shine with Frannie. Sonja, what are some things you feel women need in their lives to empower them in the workplace?
Planning. I think planning is so important. When someone says, I'm going to start a business, they sit down, they put together a business plan, what their small steps are, what their big goals are going to be. And I think in life, sometimes we forget to do that. We just say, oh, well, I've been going around the same circle, the hamster wheel over and over and over again, and nothing's changing. And sometimes you have to stop, and you have to take that time and say, what are my short-term goals? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And then start making the decisions based on accomplishing those goals. And those decisions might be little day-to-day decisions on things that you can do, things that you can change. If you want to write a book, taking that 15 minutes. But those are things that are really important for women, is to make goals. And then those decisions, when you are faced with a decision and you're at that crossroads, you can say, does this move me towards that goal that I have for the next year, 5 years, 10 years? Does it move me away from that goal? Because a lot of times that will make decision making a lot easier, because you already have an idea of where you want to be, and then you're kind of qualifying those decisions within those parameters of those short-term and long-term goals. So I think planning is really, really important.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that your experience with working with women in the workplace, and Elizabeth, you mentioned your experience with also men. So I'd like both of you to answer the question, how do you empower other women in your workplace and our community?
I like not being a micromanager. I like to see with women that I work with, when we're working together, I say, this is what I'd like you to accomplish. Go figure it out. Because I think that's really important a lot of times, because I've worked for micromanaging bosses, and it's really hard because you can't really show them how good you are at something, and you can't move up as much because all of a sudden you're kind of confined to the way they want to do it. So I have always felt more empowered when I understand what the goal is or what the project is, and let me accomplish it the way that I'd like to show you how I can accomplish it. And that's what I do for other women in our workplace, because I want to give them the tools so that they can accomplish it themselves. So if there's extra classes that they could take, if they're interested in certain topics that are related to what we do day in and day out, I'm a huge proponent for go take that class, go and do that continuing education course, because those sorts of things make them better and make them have better control over their day-to-day and those goals that they want to accomplish. So that's one of the ways that I really work to empower the women that I work with, is giving them tools, but then letting them go freely with how those tools are. And yes, there's things that come back to me and I say, whoa, okay, you took this in a totally different direction than I expected. Let's talk about this. But other times things come back and I'm like, holy cow, I was expecting this. You gave me this. That's amazing. I can't believe you were able to do this. And it kind of just shocks you and keeps you humble to say, like, I knew you were good. I didn't know you were this good. So I just think that's really important.
No, I like that because we all have those hidden skills or talents, right? So what I'm hearing you say is that you allow them to actually discover those undiscoverable skills and or talents. And then it also shows the creativity. A lot of us in this room have those skills or talents that we don't know because we haven't been given the opportunity to tap into them. So figure out what that is within yourself and tap into that this week. Elizabeth, how do you?
Well, I think that often as women, we sometimes don't see those hidden skills or abilities that we have. We can see the good in others, but we don't necessarily see some of the things that we're capable of doing. So I think as females, we can help other females by helping them see and realize those different traits that they have inherently in themselves. I had the privilege of having a couple of females on my team in my previous role, and I was able to do that with them. So I was able to say, okay, you're going to go to this event and you're going to present on this subject, and oh no, I can't do that. I'm like, you're articulate, you're great, you can do this. This is your program, you're the one running it. You should be the one to stand and talk. Like, it shouldn't be me up there talking about it. You're the one who runs it. You need to go do this. And I had people in my career that have done that to me, where I felt like I wasn't capable or competent. I was the little Lizzie, cute girl in the room. I couldn't go and be the one up front. And I say, no, you can do it. Go do it. They pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I want to do that for others so that they, are prepared and ready, but that they go and they experience that success so that they'll be more willing and able to try a new thing in the future. And I 100% agree on the micromanagement side. As long as we give clear expectations and we really kind of paint that picture for them, let people discover and do it on their own, because they're going to learn more that way, and they're going to be creative and come up with better solutions. The key is just giving some clear communication and expectations on the front end.
Okay. So Elizabeth, what does giving back to the community mean to you? How do you do this?
Well, definitely giving back to the community is something that I grew up with. My parents were super involved growing up. They were very involved in church, and they were constantly giving up their time. So it was something that has been just since birth, been something that I've been exposed to. What I found is, because I grew up in a family that was doing that so much, it was always there for me, and I didn't have to think of it on my own. And even as I moved into my career through the EDC, it was like always, oh, you go and be on this board, and you go and do this. And now I'm kind of like, I have to decide what I'm going to do. I have to decide what organizations I'm going to support and how I'm going to get out and get involved. So that's been a little bit more of a challenge, because I've always had it sort of available to me. Now I've got to decide. I'm available for some boards. I'm in between some boards. But you get so much out of it. You always get so much more out of giving, and you learn more, and you build rapport with the others that you're serving alongside. It's such a way to connect with your community, and to, that's one of the reasons I support my kids' schools, because I want to be involved, I want to be there, and I also think I can help other working parents, because if I'm the room mom, I'm going to make sure that we get the notice out super early, because I know that you're working, and if you need to pick up cupcakes or something, you need a little extra time. So I think there's just so many ways that we can help others by volunteering of our time.
So the world is so much larger than our personal space or the men or women or family in our lives, right? So getting involved and giving back to the community is very important. It's a part of all of us and what we do. So Frannie, you have a personality that goes with your brand, shine, and it shines, right? And you help to empower women through a spiritual lens. What are your personal best practices in empowering self so you can be in a healthy place to genuinely empower others?
It actually relates to what Elizabeth just shared, and even though it is something that she's asking, like, how do you do it for yourself? Giving back is one of the best ways that I love to do that. I actually volunteer with the Brevard Rescue Mission, and then I lead Bible studies actually over Beachside. And so, Healthy and Whole, I really think it's really important to give back to the community, because that's where you get full. But I also start every single day. I don't know, I read it years ago. There was a book that I was reading when I first started my weight loss journey. And they talked about how you don't have to necessarily tithe money, but you can tithe time. And I was like, what? Because I don't have any money. I was making $18,000 as a teacher. So I was like, okay, if I could tithe 5 minutes. And so I started getting up and I started praying, and just like kind of giving my first fruits, if you will, first fruit to of the day, and just started like praying and meditating and focusing on the word, and just really trying to fill myself up, like, okay, as we were saying, like, you can plan the day, but it doesn't ever go as you plan, right? Can I get an amen on that one, right? because I think that we go through our day and then there are these little interruptions, and I like to call those divine appointments as well, because my former Frannie, I would just be so focused and so driven and so goal-oriented that I wouldn't stop. I would actually just, like, I don't care, I have to get my 42 things checked off my list today, because I would highlight, like, get up, pray. Like, I was that person, right? There's no judgment if that's still you today, okay? There's still work to be done. We're all works in progress. But I used to really just focus on the to-do list and not the being list. And so now when I see a need, I'm like, oh, like, my mom and I went to dinner the other day, and I was like, we should pay for those police officers, like, lunches in there. Like, just seeing an opportunity to be a blessing to someone else. Like, that's how I kind of get filled up. But starting my day, you know, in that prayer, meditation, and exercise, I call it my drug phone. I'm not into that. That's not my business, I tell you. But I have, like, my old school phone that doesn't have any cellular or data, you know, anything, like, somebody can't text me. So I don't turn on my phone at all until I'm done with my prayer and exercise in the morning. Nobody wants your time at 5:30 in the morning, okay, y'all? So you need to start getting up early, just saying. So if you want that kind of life, and so, you know, when you think about all of the, you know, famous entrepreneurs and their daily routine, that was something that I was like, okay, if I'm watching these people be successful, and this is what they're doing, like, I want to do that, right? Success leaves clues, Tony Robbins says. So I want to see what is success, and let me go ahead and take advantage of that. So that's kind of my, you know, how do I fill myself up, get up in the morning, and then really just kind of start my day honoring God, honoring my body. Like, you know what, I'm worth my 15 minutes of my exercise or whatever that is, because I'm going to be a better person for the people around me. Nobody wants to see me at 5:30 in the morning because I am not nice, right? I'm like, okay, I need to get like a little divine download before I go and interact with the world. And then throughout the day, using those opportunities to be a blessing, to see need, meet a need. That's how I get filled up.
Perfect. I know that each of you on here and many of you in this room, we have different roles in our lives. We do many different things for yourself and for others. So Sonja, describe a typical day in your life with the many hats that you wear so well.
Alarm rings. Hopefully I've woken up before the alarm, but if not, I'm going in to get ready, brush my teeth, and, you know, eyes are still closed. Waking up the kids, getting them ready for school, doing breakfast, packing lunches. I love cooking, so I like to send my kids to school with a lunch. I think just that's important. They buy on Fridays, and then they're all sugared up and crazy because whatever they buy is, you know, their own choices. But Fridays, we get started off a little crazy in our household because it depends what the kids bought at school that day for lunch. If it's all ice cream, strawberry, applesauce, we're in trouble, maybe a bag of Doritos. But the rest of the week, they're eating well. Then we're getting them off to school, I get them both to school, and then I'm at home trying to work out, I need to turn my phone off, that's what I need to do, because I'm trying to work out, and my phone's, you know, text messages, and I'm checking it, which is not a good thing to do. But I'm trying to do that, and then focus on a little bit of myself. What am I thinking about? Am I praying? Am I meditating? What am I going to do for the day? Because you need those 15 minutes. I feel like as women, we've kind of been integrated in this idea of selflessness. Like, we have to do everything else for everyone else. And God forbid you go and get that pedicure, or you go and get that facial, or you go and take, you know, a little time for yourself. And I think it's really important to have that balance in life where you do take time, because we run into so many women that are just burning out because they aren't taking that time. So I try to take some time for myself. I'm not the best at it because, you know, all of a sudden your phone rings and you're getting pulled into an email or something that needs to be taken care of early in the morning. And then from there, I'm heading to work. Well, first I have my cappuccino. I love a good coffee in the morning that I make. And then I'm off to work, and then all of a sudden it's bam, 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 everyone coming into my office, answering questions, dealing with things for the day. And by the time the day is over, the kids have been home. We have a wonderful nanny, which helps our household function. She doesn't live with us, but she picks up the kiddos from school, gets them snacks, does homework. So by the time I come home, I'm a huge fan of the Instant Pot. I don't know, I don't work for them, but I make a lot of meals.
Affiliate pay.
Affiliate, I'm gonna get my rewards over here. But I love cooking, so it's really important for me, for our family, to be able to sit down and have that meal together. We can't do it every day of the week. We have, you know, baseball practice here. My daughter has gymnastics, so things like that happen, but we really try at least 5 days of the week, when possible, possible to sit down and as a family have that meal together, because that's when we really have that time to get to talk to the kids. How was your day? It was okay. Well, let's kind of dig into that. What happened? What did you do today? You know, how was your spelling test? And if you don't take that time, and I read this somewhere, if you don't listen to your kids on the small things, when they're big things, they won't tell you those things either. So that's kind of been ingrained in me. Someone said that to me a couple months ago, and I've really been thinking about that because my kids are small, they're 5 and 8. So the little things that they want to talk about, like, oh, you know, Johnny smacked me on the playground. Okay, well, that wasn't very nice, but kind of talking about that behavior and what that means, I think is important, because then it kind of gets them to open up more about things, how they feel, and those discussions are really vital for them to kind of grow as a human being, to understand how to handle those emotions, what to do with it, how to compartmentalize it for their next day so that they can have a good day. Because the last thing we want is for them to have those build-ups so that they, you know, freak out or panic because they haven't had a chance to kind of have that release. So dinner time is really important for us, and then we're doing, you know, maybe some activity, a board game or TV, whatever night it is, and then time for bed. And then I probably go to bed 3.5 hours later because at that point,
so you're intentional in your day, which I like. Very good, very good. So we've learned what they do. We know who they are, right? So, but everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a why. So if each of you can very briefly share what is your why. Why do you do what you do? Start with you, Frannie. Briefly, ladies.
Okay. My why is to really, your story is his glory. Like, I'm very much a faith-based person, and so I like to believe that, you know, everything that I do on this side of heaven is really just to shine, you know, to shine your light. Like I said in the beginning, you know, really every single one of us has a light, and so it's our job to literally, not from a yoga perspective, like the light in me shines the light in you, like, no, like, you all have a light, every single person has a light, and so how can I come alongside of you and be like, hey, me too? Or how can we walk together and, you know, really shine really brightly? And so that's really my goal.
Perfect.
That's my why.
Elizabeth.
My why has got to be my family. So being the role model that they need, being the support that they need, you know, all the things that I do, all the choices that I make to try to kind of get them the foundation that they need, my husband and my kids and my dad, to try to be whole for them. So I do very similar. I have a very structured day. I have, you know, all the things that I try to put in place just so that we can kind of carve out the time to have the conversations and to make sure that they are fed and nourished, and that they're getting. We made a choice to go to a Christian school because we wanted them to have that influence in their lives as well. So trying in all the ways to be there for my family.
Perfect. Sonja.
I love helping others. I'm an acts of service type of person, if you talk about the love languages, and that really fills up my cup. I like doing things for other people, helping them, and I really love that with my kids, being there for them, for my husband, the support that we have day in and day out with work and personally at home. I just think, you know, helping others, being there for others, cheering them on, because so many people don't have that. And I think with COVID, some of us are kind of losing that personal touch. Being able to see one another is a lot less than what we used to have. So just that emotional support. I like being bubbly and kind of having my bubble flow over to other people to try to help them to get through their day, get through their tough situation that they're in, and just being a good listener. I think that's really important.
Perfect. Now, ladies, I want to ask one more question before we open it up to the audience for Q&A, so everyone in here come up with a question. I'm teasing. No, but I'm not. So if you can briefly share with us, what wisdom would you share with the audience and how to live a well-rounded life? Sonja, let's start with you.
Take time for yourself. Plan out those goals and really take some time for yourself, whatever that might be. Some people can take a whole vacation by themselves, other people just getting those 15 minutes a day, and sometimes it does take almost blocking it out on your calendar. I live and die by my calendar. Every single day, my day is pretty structured on what I need to accomplish, but making sure to actually schedule that time for yourself is extremely important so you don't bubble over in a negative way. You don't stress out and burn out, because it's so easy in this life where we're expected to say yes to everything and do everything, that sometimes saying no and doing something for yourself can actually be much more beneficial for you.
I love it. Frannie.
I'm gonna say be spontaneous. So I know earlier when Sonja was talking, she's like, come up with a business plan. And I was like, I'm gonna start a business. And my family was like, are you crazy? Because I was an English teacher, and I literally quit my job, nothing planned. I'm not advising this to anyone, but I literally quit my job in 2015 at an all-girls school, and I was like, I'm gonna start this business. And they're like, do you know what you're doing? I was like, I don't have a business plan. I still don't have a business plan, you guys. Like, I still don't, okay? And my friend Hillary's like, oh my gosh, she is a mediation person. She's all like business. But for me, I'm totally about spontaneity. I used to live that structured thing, and now I'm just like, sure, let's go do that. Okay, skydive, sure, let's do it. I wouldn't do that today, perhaps. But like, I'm all about, as I mentioned, as Sonja mentioned, Jamara mentioned in the beginning, I watched life by the sidelines for so long. I went skiing when I was in high school, and I joined the ski club because all my friends were doing it, and I couldn't get the boots wrapped around my calves. So what did I do? I went and I sat in a lodge, and I ate pizza and drank hot chocolate all day while they skied for 8 hours. So for me, I watched life happen so often, I didn't participate in it. And so now I'm like, let's do something fun today. Like if I can seize an opportunity to serve someone, or just to do something that is going to enhance my understanding of the world, I'd say just do it.
All right.
Do something crazy.
Elizabeth, close us out.
I think boundaries. So identifying some boundaries.
I didn't wear a skirt on purpose today, you guys.
Not spontaneous boundaries. Be spontaneous. That's good stuff. But boundaries so that you can say no to things. So if you know kind of what lane you need to be in, you can say no when someone asks you to change lanes. So having some boundaries there can help you say no, which gives you a lot of freedom. We have a lot of decision fatigue as people, like humans, all humans. You're making decisions all day long. And if you've got some boundaries in mind, it helps because you don't have to decide. You're just like, nope, this is the lane that I'm in. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to be there. Because I know my calendar, if somebody says, well, are you available on Friday? And I don't have something in my calendar on Friday, then the answer is yes, unless I have a boundary that says no. Like, otherwise, I'm going to say yes. So I've got to define those boundaries for myself, or I'll always say yes.
Love that. I'm also very big on boundaries and planning. When it's time to have fun, I promise you I'm spontaneous. All right, audience, we are going to take this time out to allow you to ask questions. What I ask is that if it's reference to anyone specific, please say their name and get to the question. Say your name and what organization you're with, but for the sake of time, we do want to try to get through as many questions as possible. By showing in, thank you. All right. And forgive me now for walking in and out of all of
you guys remember Phil Donahue? I used to want to be that person, like walk around with a microphone.
I'm Hillary Earl, #Chat, and I'd like to pose this question to everyone. What business book or what book, apart from say like the Bible or something like historic, what book has had the greatest impact on your professional life?
I'm going to ask this one of you answer that question.
I'll say it, Quitter. It's Quitter by John Acuff, and it's about not leaving your day job until you have the other thing lined up. But it's just a really great book. It's literally like that's the byline. I'm not kidding. I didn't heed that advice until later, but it's a really great book. He has a lot of really fun data in there, and just really, really good storytelling.
Perfect. Sonja, you look like you was about to answer that question. Go ahead.
Who Moved My Cheese? It's a random book, but it's not a long book, but it really helps you with getting into business, kind of planning, kind of how to make money, really, what it comes down to.
Perfect. Next question. Oh, come on. They shared so much. Thank you.
My name is Tyler. I'm the general manager of the Home 2 Suites in Viera. So my question, I'll pose it to Sonja. I have a 6-year-old daughter, kind of like you, and I'm a young mom trying to, move forward in my business life. So how do you find that balance between being a mom and being a professional woman?
Good question.
Efficiencies. Honestly, efficiencies help a lot. This pandemic the number one thing it's taught me is that I love Publix grocery delivery. Because literally, I will sit at home, and on Sundays when I go to the grocery store, I've now converted that time to spending it with my kids, and I save my list because frankly, I'm probably buying the same things every single week, switching off here or there, but different efficiencies that you can put into your life that help. Even if you're spending a little bit more, I look at my time as how valuable it is. And if I'm going to be spending 2 hours going to the grocery store, going in and out, my kid's driving me crazy because I'm going to overbuy, because I'm actually probably saving money now because the kids aren't going to the grocery store with me, so I'm buying a lot less of the things that they go, please, Mom, please, 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 because they're going to ask for things. So finding those efficiencies in life, I think, are important. If your daughter does something, figuring out a carpool. You don't always have to be the one that takes her to whatever her after-school activities are. Work with other moms, talk to each other, see who else does that activity, and work on a carpool. So you take them this week, they take them next week, whatever it might be. And obviously, you're there for the important events. When there's a ballet recital or something like that. But those sorts of things, those efficiencies, I think is really what helps me kind of pull everything together on a weekly basis.
Love it. Next question.
I'm Nicole, I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. This is for anyone who wants to answer it, but sometimes being a woman in industry, there's a fine line between being assertive and being the other thing. And I'm curious, how do you walk that?
I try to take a couple seconds before I answer. Sometimes I think as women, when we just answer right off the bat without thinking about it, it can come off as the other thing. Whereas if you take even 3 seconds and become a little more thoughtful, because so many times it's how you say it, not what you say. So if you take that moment to say, okay, how would I answer this, put it together in your brain and then say it, it kind of takes away that kind of harshness of it. And a lot of times you can say things that are more assertive, but it doesn't make you look like the other thing because you didn't just blurt it off and like cut someone off or whatever it might be. You've taken that moment to be a little more thoughtful about it.
And I could add just to try to avoid making assumptions of the other person. So often we are assuming the worst of that other person when maybe they just didn't have tact in the way that they phrased it. So if we can kind of make an internal decision to assume the other person was coming from a good place, it's going to help us tone down our response to that person. And perhaps we can be the diplomatic one that then leads that conversation in the right direction.
I have 2 things to that really quickly. So one is related to the 3 minutes, or like a few minutes to respond. If it's an email, I try to let it sit for a whole day. I know that's really hard, but I'm a very emotional person, very spontaneous. I'm like, blah! Like I just would like go off on somebody, and that's not a good thing. Oftentimes I had the opportunity of working with Michelle, and I would say to her, I got this email, I'm going to draft a response, going to have you look this over, and I'm going to send it tomorrow. And I wouldn't send it that night. How many of you have like things in your inbox folder, like your draft folder, because you're like, not one day when I'm going to send that email to that person. So that's the first thing, is I always try to wait to respond. And the second thing is, if you're in a conversation with somebody, that's a whole different story. And then really the second thing is I like to ask a question to someone back. So instead of like, sometimes, again, the assertive part of us or the aggressive part, whatever, that fine balance. And I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. What you're asking me is this. And so it gives that person an opportunity to really reflect that as well. So it's not just me like, well, no, I think you should do this. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure, or what do you think about this? Asking that person, involving them, like almost as like an inquiry. So I try to do it that way. So it's not just me like coming out of the gate like with my,
And I like to add for everyone, please understand, because I am very big on boundaries. So, and Sonja mentioned that women, sometimes we do much more and forget about self. No is a complete sentence. So there's nothing wrong with saying no and not having to explain yourself afterwards. How dare them ask, why not? Right? No, I can't do this. No, right? Next question.
Hi, I'm Moni Rosenberger with Golf Carts Unlimited. You guys have been great today. Thank you so much. I guess my question is more specific to Sonja, but if you two have experience with this, just you mentioned you work with your husband. I work with my husband as well, and a lot of his family. I just if you had some, great advice for working with family, especially your husband. You don't always see eye to eye on things.
No, we do not. The biggest thing is try not to take the work home. We happen when we're around the dinner table, sometimes things creep up that we didn't have time to talk about during the day. So we really try to limit that work discussion until at least after the kids go to bed. If we have to deal with it that night, wait till the kids go to bed. They don't want to hear, why there's this title easement issue over here because we own a title company together. So the kids don't want to hear that. So, and we try to keep those boundaries during the workday. We try to have that time. I'm really busy during the workday. I go to a lot of different client meetings. I have telephone conferences. So I feel like he has to almost schedule time with me if we have something to discuss during the day. So taking that moment to say, hey, can we go to lunch together to talk about this? Hey, can I have you 10 minutes after lunch? Do you have time? So that we can kind of balance each other, because it is kind of easy to try to feel monopolized, like, oh, he needs me again. I need to do this, or I need to meet with him. He's never available. Those sorts of things. So taking that time to actually schedule it if you can. If not, try not to take it home, as much as you can. And the worst thing you can do is talk about it while you're in bed, because then you're both going to be angry and trying to go to sleep, and now you're like, well, So take that time. But I think the other thing that I found for me is we end up doing a lot of marketing events together. We'll go in the evening. So we got a babysitter because we're going to this marketing event in the evening. And then all of a sudden that kind of becomes your date night. So trying to remember to actually have real date nights when it's not just going to a networking event for work. So trying to schedule that time. So those are the things that I've found that are helpful for me.
Next question.
All right, so maybe I think it'll be helpful to share my age. I'm 24, and I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I know what my definitions are, like you guys kind of went through to introduce yourselves, and then I also get the whole, the stereotypes thrown at me, people trying to tell me who I am, and all of that, because, I don't know, I am the young woman in STEM in my career, whatever it is. How do you navigate that space? I feel like you all were so confident in your answers when you started, and I'm not sure if I know, like, what my top 5 or top 6 definitions of me would be right now.
Can you tell us your name really quickly?
I was going to say, tell us your name.
I'm Kaylee, and I'm the CEO of Reinvented Inc.
Perfect. Frannie, can you answer that question quickly so we can ask one more question?
It goes back to what we talked about in terms of action brings clarity. Like the more you just try things on, the more you do it and say things and put yourself in those boardroom situations or being able to confidently speak in front of other people, it's just like a muscle. You're not going to build up the courage until you actually do it. And so for me, I would just say in terms of building up confidence, put yourself in situations where you have to try that on and where you have to do that, whether it be, I don't know, talk to your friends, be like, okay, we're going to have a mock, like a little mock event, and just do something like that, or go to happy hour and be like, I don't know, I just feel like putting yourself in situations where you have to engage and interact with people and things like that, I think will help you build up the confidence for that.
Perfect, thank you. Do we have one more question?
My name is Jessica Waterhouse, independent financial advisor, and I was curious about, so you all have been employers, right, bosses of women, and there's a balance when you're a boss of, making sure the office is running smoothly. There's also that compassionate piece of being a compassionate employer, and I'm not sure how sometimes to find that line of people have personal problems, they have things to do, but also making sure that the office is running smoothly and things are going as planned. So do you have any advice on how to sort of manage women compassionately, but also so they're doing their thing?
I will say making sure people feel heard. So in my previous role, I did have some women that reported to me, and there was sometimes conflict, and they were both right and they were both wrong. And so I had to listen to both sides, hear them out all the way, and then talk about the other perspective too. And every time they would be like, thank you so much, you're right. Like, oh, I didn't think that. And I think just being really, really listening and hearing people out, then you can get past whatever that conflict is, and you can get back to work and get the things done. But if you ignore it or if you dismiss it in any way, that's not going to help anything. You've really got to hear them out, make sure that they know that they've been heard.
Perfect. Let's give a round of applause for the panelists. And one more round of applause for each of you who got up out of your bed this morning to come in and learn something from these ladies. Go ahead.